Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Enlightened Life podcast. I'm your host, Scott Allen. What if the key to true freedom isn't just moving forward, but learning how to let go? On today's show, I'm honored to welcome Katherine Giovanni, a 3-time award-winning best-selling author, speaker, and transformation coach. Katherine has dedicated her life to helping others navigate the profound journey of forgiveness. Her book, The Ultimate Path to Forgiveness, Unlocking Your Power, isn't just about the concept of forgiving. It's a step-by-step guide to releasing even the deepest wounds, including those we once believed were unforgivable. But Katherine's wisdom isn't just theoretical. Her own life story is a testament to resilience, from overcoming stage 3 breast cancer to navigating a childhood marked by immense challenges. Beyond her groundbreaking work in forgiveness, Katherine is passionate about the power of intuition, helping people embrace their inner knowing to transform not just their personal lives, but their professional success as well. Get ready for a deep and enlightening conversation as we explore healing, resilience, and the courage to truly let go. Katherine is here to show us the way, so let's get started. Hi, Katherine. How are you? So nice to meet you.
I'm great. Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
I'm so happy to have you. I know it's been a while. We were talking last year sometime, I think, about getting on the show, and one thing led to another, and here we are. You know, I think forgiveness is such a great topic because so many people have a hard time with that, but they also have a hard time with what it means for us, you know, and it can feel impossible for a lot of people. For you, what was the turning point that led you to explore it so deeply?
Well, the thing about forgiveness is everybody teaches you to forgive. Your teachers, your parents, your pastor. Nobody teaches you how. And what if you don't want to? What if it's unforgivable? Then what do you do? I teach the how in a step-by-step system, but everybody's life has what I call flashpoints. And you don't know you're going through them when it happens, but if you can look back in your life, you can see that teacher, that parent, that one experience that absolutely changed your life. For me, it was when my mother died. And before she died in the 8th grade, my parents were horrible alcoholics, and I was terribly bullied in school because I was different. And so I tried to commit suicide in the 8th grade, and I turned into one of those teenagers, you know who I'm talking about, and I just kind of floated through life. Until my mother fell down a flight of stairs, broke her hip, and ended up in the hospital. And even my mother can't get a gin and tonic in the hospital. So she dried out and we sent her to rehab. And I spent the next 3 years closer than sisters. We practically finished each other's sentences. We forgave each other. We did everything together, and we even lived together. And then she died of breast cancer. And that was the flashpoint. I knew that beyond a shadow of a doubt, if I didn't change, I would die too. So it's the only New Year's resolution I actually ever kept, and I quit drinking. I've been sober now for, 35 years, I think at last count.
Wow.
And that's that's really what started me on my journey of forgiveness, because you're taught that you have to make amends and reach out to, say you're sorry to people. Okay, if I'd had texting, I would have totally been all over that. We didn't have any technology back then. There were no computers. Right, I'm as old as dirt. So you had two choices. You call people, or you had to see them in person. Yeah, I was really shy back then. I had no desire to do either. So I just kind of quietly did it in my apartment all by myself. And I accidentally stepped into the first part of my forgiveness system, and it just kind of dovetailed from there.
Wow. So you're according to your book, you offer that step-by-step approach, which you just talked about. What is the first step for people struggling to forgive?
Well, on a 10 scale, with 10 being unforgivable and 1 being the easiest person in the world to forgive, every single person listening and watching this broadcast is thinking of their number 10. Everybody. You're thinking of that one person who completely wrecked your world. And that's fair. But in my world, you don't have to forgive the unforgivable, because There's a lot of people, places, and things, and I did say places and things, don't click off, stay with me, that you can forgive before you even get to that person. So the passion behind my method, and I'm going to actually tell you what the method is step by step right now, if you want me to. I want you to start with the easy ones, and then you work your way up to the hard ones. That's the basis of it.
Yeah. Well, what does forgiveness mean for you?
Well, here's a few principles. First of all, just because I forgive you doesn't mean I want a relationship with you. I probably don't. I've got boundaries in place for a reason, and they're going to stay. And here's the one that trips up absolutely everybody. Just because I forgive you doesn't mean I'm suddenly going to give you a pass. It doesn't mean that all of a sudden I'm saying you're right and I'm wrong. It doesn't mean I'm coming over to your side of the story. You're still wrong. You're still a dumpster fire as far as I'm concerned. Forgiveness is selfish. Forgiveness you do for you. The formal definition for me is I want you out of my head. That's it. I want to stop thinking about you. I want you out of my head. And you don't have to reach out and call anybody. So that being said, you can forgive dead people too, because where they are or they are not doesn't matter a lick. Because if they're alive and well in your head, you can forgive it.
That's true. And the forgiveness helps you. It's not for them. It's not for them. You may not even, they may not even know that you've forgiven them.
They probably don't. And it irritates people because you want the person you're mad at to know you're mad. So because, you should see how miserable I am, but they don't care. And Buddha talks about this really eloquently. He said, being angry and keeping hatred in your heart is like drinking poison and hoping the other person dies.
Boy, that is a really profound way of thinking about it. It always kind of blew my mind when I've seen, these shows where people come on and their family has had just terrible tragedy or violence against them. Someone's murdered their child, or a drunk driver has killed somebody, or whatever it is. And they say, I've forgiven him.
Right.
I want, you need to know I've forgiven him. And that's so hard for us to grasp. It's hard for people to understand, but that's for their own well-being, not for the other person's well-being.
Very few people can do that. Very few people can take a trauma that is that dark and that negative and forgive the person. So what I'm going to have you do is I'm going to have you sit down in a quiet room. And here's the hard part. There's an off button on your cell phone. And I kind of want you to use that magical off button and turn it off. And if you're visibly twitching at just the thought of turning off your phone, just mute it. And I don't want you to vibrate, because if it dances on your desk, you're going to look at it. But I want little humans and big humans out of the room. You could have your dog there if you want, but I want you alone. And then I want you to get a pad of paper and a pen. It's not that I'm old as dirt. It's because there's science behind it. Many years ago, there was a study done at Harvard University that followed some kids through the years. And half the class was said, just say your goals out loud to the room. The other half was told, write your goals down on a piece of paper. And they followed the kids through the years. And the kids who wrote their goals down were twice as successful as the kids who didn't. So there's some kind of magic that happens when it goes from your brain and you write it down. So I want you to get that pad of paper and a pen and write down a list of all the people you think you need to forgive. I completely understand those unforgivable people, 1, 2, 3, 4 of them, they're going to be first, right at the top. I get that. Keep going. Don't judge the list. Keep going. If you write a name down that you've never seen before, don't judge it. Keep going. And I want you to think of people that you played in the sandbox with your 5. I want you to go through, just write your list, as many as there. Then I want to take that list and I want you to rate these people from 1 to 10. 10 being horrific, 1 being super easy. The person who cut you off on I-95 yesterday. The person who took your parking space at the grocery store. Come on, people. These are easy. Your football team lost the Super Bowl. I think enough time has gone by. I think you can forgive that team now, right? So easy things. And then I want you to take the first name on the list, and I want you to imagine in your mind's eye that the person is standing in front of you. And if you're thinking about somebody from grammar school, I want the kid in front of you, not the adult. I want you to think of the original person that you had the falling out with. And if you can't imagine it in your mind's eye, which is like seeing a vision inside your head, like imagining it, put a chair in front of you. Talk to the chair. And then let them have it. If you need closure, now's your time. You're alone in the room. You could cry, you could laugh, you could do anything you want. Let them have it. And then put your hand on your heart. And now you're going to hear the magic, the real special sauce to the whole thing. The mantra I want you to say is, I completely forgive Scott. I completely forgive the energy around Scott. I forgive myself, the energy around myself. I forgive the energy around the entire situation. And so it is. Amen. Go with God. End it any way you like. Then check in with your body. Are you still angry, or is it a 0 now? Great. Cross the name off the list. Were you trying to forgive a level 4 person and you're still kind of angry? Okay, make it a 3. Wait 24 hours, do it again. And here's a real fun one. What if it's a level 4 person? You say the mantra, and this happened to a friend of mine, and all of a sudden you check in with your body and they're a number 10. My friend got really angry. What happened? We're not supposed to go that way. Well, your brain is the most wonderful tool. It's like an overprotective best friend, and it protects you. And there's a closet back there that's been padlocked for decades. And there's a movie playing in it that you didn't know was there. And you just said the magic formula, the magic words, the open sesame to it. And your brain says, ooh, Scott's ready. I'm going to flood his brain with memories.
Yeah.
And the memories are going to come up and you're going to remember them. So cross the name. Then cross the 4 off, replace it with a 9, wait 24 hours and keep going. But energy is the key to the whole thing. And one of the keys, because Einstein clearly proved energy is neither created nor destroyed. It simply transforms from one thing to another. So when you get angry, you think it leaves your mouth and it dissipates in the universe. It does not. It hangs around your energy field. And it really hangs. It hangs all the way through. And the only way to really clear it is to forgive it. And everything in the universe, science has taught us, has an energy field around it, including this microphone that I have. So the other part of the magic behind this is you really can forgive people, places, and things. And that's how you forgive the unforgivable.
That's interesting. And would you say that you understand when it worked, when you don't feel anger?
One of the things that people say is forgive and forget. And nobody forgets. I'm originally from New York City, and I can promise you with a 100% certainty that we do not forget.
Right.
Not going to happen. Nobody can forget. And so what I can promise you is by using this formula, it's going to remove the emotional charge. So you won't think good. You won't think bad. You're just not going to care. Happened to me a few years ago. I've had a lot of business partners, and, one in particular usually sent me to the ceiling and you'd have to peel me off the ceiling. And it took me a couple of days. And so I saw her name on Facebook. It was her birthday or something like that. And I sat here and I caught myself. I didn't care. I legitimately didn't care. Even wished her a happy birthday. I didn't care. That's freedom. That's joy. That's liberation. You won't care. And it's allowing your brain to think of something else. It's like this purple coffee cup. I think I have tea in it. It represents anger. So when you first get angry, look, oh, Scott, I got this. I know you think I'm angry, but I can manage my anger. Look, I can hold it off to the side. I got this. The longer you hold on to it, the more it's going to hurt.
Right. Yeah.
I'm all using both hands now. And if I continue to hold on to it, well, now I'm holding it in front of my face and my life has stopped. I can't have a conversation with you. Everything I'm doing is regarding the anger. I'm talking about my story. I'm breathing about it, and I'm missing opportunities. So this system is going to allow you to put your anger down so you can pay attention to money-making opportunities and new jobs and new houses and new relationships.
It's funny because I can think of one person, and fortunately don't have a lot of people that I've had that problem with, but I have one person that I've had to step back from and step away from. Right. And it's okay. Like I'm totally fine with it. I've never used the word I forgive her, or I've not done that. I don't think I've used that to myself, but I don't care. I just don't care. I've walked away and I feel like life is better. I don't have that energy around me, but every once in a while, someone will bring that person up and I'll think, ooh,
Yeah,
and it's short-lived,
it's a trigger.
and it's a trigger, and I'm not sure that it's anger, but is that little thing a sign that I need to do more work for myself?
It is. It's a
Yeah.
trigger.
Yeah.
So when you're dealing with the unforgivable, because clearly this person is unforgivable, they may not be a 10, but they're up there, because
Yeah.
you're still getting triggered. You
I
don't
mean, it's
care,
not
but
probably
then
not a
once in
10,
a
but
while,
it's
yeah,
yeah.
might be a 7 or an 8, but once in a while you see something or somebody you talk to, and your brain will go right back virtually immediately. So let's
Right.
give an example. You're driving down the road, you come to a red light. Usually you go left to go to work. Today you went right. I don't know why. The little bird in your shoulder told you to go right, so you went right. And it takes you by your old high school where you were bullied. And it was a beautiful 70-degree day. You had a perfectly peaceful morning, a really good hot cup of coffee with your favorite coffee beans. And you got to work and you're grumpy and you're cutting everybody's heads off. And everybody's saying, well, what happened? What happened last night? You're in a foul mood. I don't know what happened. I was in a good mood when I got in the car. What happened is that movie I talked about before. Out of the corner of your eye, it saw your high school,
Right.
and it turned on. And
Yep.
now you're angry. So how do you forgive the unforgivable? Okay, well, maybe I'm not ready to forgive that bully from high school. And maybe I'm not even ready to forgive the energy around the bully. And I wasn't. This is actually one of my own memories. So I picked apart the memory. Everything on our planet has an energy field. So I forgave my school building, the energy around the building. I forgave the classroom, the energy around the classroom. I forgave the desk that I sat at, the chair that I sat in. I forgave the playground. I forgave the kids who stood around and didn't help me. I forgave New York City. I forgave 1974. Actually did. Said I completely forgive 1974 and the energy around it. There, I'm dating myself. And please be aware, I still haven't forgiven the bully, have I? I'm picking apart the memory. So by picking apart the memory and clearing the other stuff within the memory, that number 10 might be a number 9 now. So I check in with my body. Am I still ready to forgive the bully? No. Okay, try forgiving the energy around the bully. Maybe you can do that. Still no? Pick another memory and pick it apart again.
Yeah.
Forgive what you can and keep going. You may never ever be able to forgive that actual person, but there's a lot of stuff within that memory that you can forgive that will release you from the pain and will allow your brain to think of other things.
So does 1974, excuse me, for you represent the year that bullying took place? And or is that what you can't forgive that person, so you're forgiving the time period and all of that just to give you a place to focus it?
1974 was the year I tried to commit suicide because of the bullying.
I gotcha.
And because of my parents' alcoholism and because of all of these things. And I was a very shy child, and I was very intuitive, and I'm very empathic, and it just crushed me. The whole thing was crushing me. And I had a best friend, and she's the one that pulled me out. She's actually a vascular surgeon and has saved thousands of lives at this point. I was just the first one she saved. But it was crushing. It was absolutely crushing. And I've had many flashpoints in my life. That was one of them. My mother's death was one of them. Breast cancer was another one. I forgave breast cancer. I actually sat here and said, I'm stage 3 breast cancer. I've been cancer-free now for 12 years, almost 13. And I said, I forgive breast cancer. I forgive the energy around breast cancer. I forgive myself, the energy around myself. I forgave chemo, the chemo drip, the chemo chair, the radiation, the 10 operations. I pulled apart, I picked apart everything. And this is the first book of 3. The next book is about how to forgive yourself, and a deep dive into how to forgive the unforgivable, and a little bit of a dive in how to forgive money. Hello. But forgiving yourself is probably the hardest thing to do. But again, my answer is pick apart the memories.
Yeah. Well, and I would think too that you have to have a fair amount of compassion for yourself.
You do.
And love for yourself in order to do that. Because it's easy to push ourselves off and say it's you and you and you. but it's not coming from here.
When you woke up this morning, you became a brand new person. Every day you wake up, you're given a new set of tools and you can do what you want with them. So the person I was is not who I am today. And I can forgive that kid. She did the best that she could. She survived. So good for her. But I can look, there is no forgiving and forgetting, but I can look back at my childhood and I could see the love that was back there. I could see the adults that were trying to help that kid. I could see the laughter that we had. I could probably regurgitate the awful memories. I use the word purposely. I could probably come up with those horrible memories if you really wanted me to, but they're really quite gone. I remember the love now. And that's the beauty of this system, because that's freedom. Now, I understand some people watching this will say, well, I don't want to go back there. It was worse than yours. I understand that. But I'm only asking you to go back a couple more times so you can clear it forever.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. I'd like to just slightly switch gears for just a minute, because you mentioned this just a few moments ago. You talked about intuition. Yep. And you kind of kept yours suppressed for a while. And so what happened that allowed you to finally embrace it?
I kept my intuition suppressed for 50 years. I have been very intuitive since I was a kid. I'm clairvoyant, clairaudient, claircognizant, empathic, and I kind of do all of it at the same time. And back in the 60s and 70s when I was raised, society had a really, really peculiar habit of slapping a "she's crazy" as a bedbug sticker on your forehead if you even exhibited a smidgen of intuition. And I was already getting bullied, so I didn't want to be stuffed in a locker, and I wanted to fit in, and I wanted to fit in with my family, so I didn't tell anybody. And when I mean anybody, I didn't tell a soul. But that little bird in my shoulder, he kept giving me messages, and I kept talking to it, and I kept hearing voices. And I thought everybody asked questions in their head and got answers back. Wasn't I surprised when I found out I was the only one? Right. I thought everybody did that. But I kept it a secret, and I eventually went into business. I'm one of the founders of the independent concierge industry. I'd love to tell you it's because I'm so smart. It's because I'm a really good listener. And nobody knew what I was doing then either. And I get information for people all the time, but I'm the queen of flipping the language. So I'd get a message for somebody and I'd deliver it with different wording. I say, have you ever thought ... You know what would be a good idea for you? And I'd mask it. And then when they ask me, how could you possibly know that? I'd just smile and say, oh, just years of experience, or it's just a hunch. It was not a hunch. I heard it. So eventually I just kept doing that for years until I met my one of my business partners, Dr. Katie Null, and I pulled that on her in a phone conversation. And she's very intuitive. And she said, I know what you're doing. And I stopped. And she said, you got to stop that. You're very talented. You've got to come out of that virtual closet and actually admit what you can do. But I thought if I came out of that virtual closet, I'd lose all my clients. I wouldn't make any money, and I'd be vilified because I was scared. I grew up in the 70s, but the opposite happened. So it took her a while to pull me out.
It's scary.
Just a little bit stubborn.
I was over 50 when it happened to me. And I don't know, people who listen to the show have heard this before, but I was a funeral director for 35 years. And can you imagine walking around a funeral home and talking to people who are no longer with us? They'd run you right out of town. So I didn't really know that's what was happening. It didn't feel like I thought it was supposed to look. So I didn't understand it. Well, I don't know. No. I think if someone had said to me, what do you think it looks like? What do you think mediums see? I'd have thought, I don't know. I mean, maybe there's 3 or 4 dead people here lined up and they talk. I mean, do I see them like I see you? Did they talk to me with their mouth? I hear it with their ears. Like, I don't know. I don't know. And of course, it's not like that at all.
No, it's not.
And like you, I have all the clairs, and I happen to like eclairs too, which is another bonus. I enjoy eclairs and all the other clairs. And you're getting a bit through the ear, you're getting a bit through the eyesight, through the sight, you're getting a bit through the clear cognizance, the knowing, or the clear sentient, the feeling. And together it creates this picture.
That's
it's
right.
Like Pictionary, or charades. And you put it all together and you're able to make a thought from that. And that's how it comes across to you. And so, of course, I didn't understand anything. How can, and it's funny because you mentioned that, intuition can be a powerful tool in the workplace, and you just talked about workplace. How can people who are professionals use it to help them in their career?
Well, first of all, anger acts as a shield to your intuition. Now, there are cracks in the shield, and that little bird in your shoulder, your intuition, because everybody sees it, feels it, knows it, or senses it, right? There's like 4 or 5 main clairs. But there are little cracks where information can get through. But anger and resentment, it acts like a huge shield. So the more you forgive, the more your intuition is going to shine through. And the way in business, imagine if all the Fortune 500 companies would actually allow their employees to show their intuition and not have to hide it. Can you imagine what that would do to the world?
Right.
And the thing about
we all have it.
We all have it. And it's also, this is not our first time on this planet. We've had many, many lifetimes. And one of the things I learned about 3 years ago is I have a new gift, because the more you use your intuitive muscle, the better it gets. And you discover new gifts as you go along. And I have this little habit of seeing people's past lives. So in a session with me, I will get the past life that is tripping the person up the most in this lifetime. And then we'll talk about it, and then we'll do the forgiveness work on it to completely forgive it, because it's the ultimate of past life trauma. Because you bring those resentments and those angers from lifetime to lifetime, because energy is neither created nor destroyed. I had a client who was a law enforcement officer. He called me up and he was very upset. He wasn't sleeping. I mean, really wasn't sleeping. He tried hypnosis. He tried doctors. He tried tapes. He tried medicine. Tried everything. And he's a cop. You have to sleep. He wasn't sleeping. He said, I'll do anything you tell me to.
Wow.
So it's like, okay. So I didn't know I could do this, Scott. I had no idea. It was the very first one I ever got. Yeah. And so all of a sudden I get this vision of a sheriff of a town, and he was sleeping in bed with his wife, and he was beloved in the town because I could feel the love. And she was having an affair. And I watched, it was like a movie playing in my head. And I watched as she smothered him with a pillow and killed him. And I'd have trouble sleeping too. And he had a lot of trouble dating. He didn't trust women. Well, duh. I wouldn't either if one of them killed me. So once we cleared that and we did some forgiveness work on it, I'm happy to say he started sleeping through the night and he started to date again.
How great is that? That really is great.
It's an amazing thing. Forgiveness is not only do people not know how to forgive, but it's just forgiving just one person is just the tip of the iceberg. So if you really want to get more intuitive, start forgiveness and then do some guided writing. I just think it's one of the best ways to see if you can start exercising that muscle, meaning get a pen and paper or your laptop. In this case, I don't care, whatever medium you want. And then I want you to just ask a question. Why is the sky blue? Are you really here? I don't care what you ask. But then whatever happens, you write it down. Do you see a vision? Write down what the vision is. Did you hear some words? Write down what the words were, no matter what they are. Did you feel something? Write down what you're feeling. Did you see a color? Write the color down. Did you smell something? Write down the smell. And then ask another question. And before you know it, you'll probably be having a two-way conversation with your higher self or God or the angels or whatever you want to call it.
It's so fascinating because that's exactly how it is. But you have to stop and clear your head.
You do.
And listen. Or not even, and listen, that connotates ears. It's not even listening. It's feeling, it's knowing, it's sensing, it's smelling. It's all of these things.
It's a feeling. And I get asked all the time, well, how do I know that I'm not just making this up and hearing what I want to hear? Brilliant question. Because usually the answers I get are not worded in the way I would say them. They're not something I would think. And if you're not hearing words, because not everybody does, I'm clairaudience, so not everybody does. You might see something in your head, or you might feel something. Or I get people say, I can't get my mind to shut up. So if you're thinking and you're sitting there and you're trying to think the answer, well, you're probably trying too hard. Just breathe. And if you think about your shopping list, this happened to a friend of mine. So I said, well, just write down the shopping list. And in the middle of the shopping list, between the milk and the eggs, was a name and a weird sentence. There you go.
See, and there it is.
It creeped in. It's that still small voice. And
when I do
this is the muscle. The more you use it, the better it gets. But the more you forgive, the louder that muscle will be. Forgiveness really does act like a shield. And if you're trying to forgive yourself, I just wrote this chapter 2 days ago, so it's still fresh in my mind because I've just finished the second book. But my answer is the same. I still want you to do that first list, that first initial list of all the people. And then you write a second list of the things that you think you need to be forgiven for. And you write down those memories, and then you rate them from 1 to 10. But I do have a little PSA, I have to say. When you do this work, you're going to get exhausted. So I want you to do it before bed, because you're going to get 9 out of 10 people get really tired, right? Mm-hmm. And some people will feel their shoulders lighter. Some people will be in the bathroom for a little while, shall we say. Now, why is that? Okay, well, there's a study done, and in the interest of time, I'll say it fast. It's called the Japanese water study. And a guy named Hasumoto, I can never remember his name, something like that. But what the guy did is he studied water. He took one container of water and he said little wonderful, beautiful love words to it. That's it. That's all he did. He talked to it. Then he took another container of water, hate, nasty, the most horrible words and strings of sentences he could think of. He froze the water and put it under a microscope. The water he spoke love to had these beautiful crystal formations. It's right on Google. It's fascinating. The water he spoke hate to had these malformations of black and brown, sickly kind of looking things. So why am I telling you this? The human body is 95% water. So when your self-talk is bad, when you're thinking of hatred and bitterness and self-doubt, what do you think you're doing to the water molecules in your body? And when you forgive people, those molecules have to go someplace. So I don't want you to do more than 10 at a time, because I think your body can mitigate that when you're sleeping. And if you're doing a very high level person, like an 8 or 9 to 10, only do 1 a night and always wait 24 hours. Do as I say, not as I did.
Right.
I do all my own exercises because I'm my own guinea pig. And I did this exercise. And I'm a little bit of an overachiever, shocker. Mm-hmm. And I must have written down 50 or 60 names, seriously. And I thought, this is going to be great. I'm going to be like a phoenix rising from the ashes. I'm going to get rid of all of my past all at once. I'm going to be waking up tomorrow, a brand new person. Okay. The universe has a sense of humor. Didn't work out the way I thought it would. I did forgive many people on the list, but I also spent 3 days in bed with what everybody thought was a stomach flu. It was not the stomach flu. It was my body trying to get rid of all of that cosmic sludge that I'd been carrying around for so long. So if that happens to you, you didn't eat a piece of bad fish. Just breathe and know that it's your body is just cleansing itself from all that horrible energy.
It's just a cleanse.
Just a cleanse.
Yeah, that's great. So if you could leave the listeners with one piece of wisdom about forgiveness, what do you think that might be? And is that it? Quite frankly, I don't know. I was listening to it thinking maybe that would be it, but what would you leave?
Well, I probably have 2. The first piece of forgiveness, the first piece of advice is you are worthy enough to do this. It's your birthright. You are worthy enough to live a life of joy and happiness. You're worthy enough to be happy. We're not meant to live in a refrigerator box in the street. We're meant to be happy. This is your birthright. You are worthy enough to do this. And if you're sitting there thinking that, I have nobody to forgive, and my friend does, but I don't, well, then I want you to say the following sentence 3 times a night for the next 5 days. I completely forgive myself for not being able to forgive and the energy around this thought. Say that 3 times a night. And eventually, on one of the following nights in the future, that closet's going to open and you're going to start to remember things. And when it does, just write it down and you start the journey. But remember, it's forgiveness. We're never done. Humans irritate other humans. And I found with my father, who was a number 10, I got Dad down to a 1 and I forgave him. And I really did. I mean, I really thought we were done. I mean, it was great. I have a good relationship with him today. Yes, I know he's dead and has been for a very long time, but we have a good relationship now. But then I realized I had to go the other way. If you asked me, what is the number one regret of your life? I would say when I got married 33 years ago, I was so mad at my father, I didn't let him walk me down the aisle. I carry great guilt for that because I think it was very cruel. So I realized that even though I had forgiven Dad, now I needed Dad to forgive me. So I had to go the other way up the scale. So I had to create a new list. And that's how I got to, you need to forgive yourself. And
Right.
Dad was in the middle of that list.
Wow. Okay, I have one more question because you just made me think of this. What would you say to someone who says, yeah, I'm angry with this person and that person I don't really care for, but I don't need to forgive them. I'm fine. How can we know that it's affecting us?
Because you're probably feeling like you've hit a wall with your life. You're probably feeling stuck. You might be attracting the same kind of relationship and wondering why you keep dating the same kind of guy or gal.
Mm-hmm.
You might be stuck in your career. You might, be kind of sickly. You're always getting the flu and you're always getting sick and you always seem to be on the outside looking in, and you know that your life is meant for bigger things, but you can't quite get that brass ring. I submit to you that your anger might be holding you back. And if you try the forgiveness method, you're going to start to feel better. And people are going to notice. They're going to look at you and say, Scott, did you get a new haircut? What, you look so good today.
What's different, right?
There's something different about you. And you're going to start to attract like-minded people. Like energy attracts like energy. And your life is going to change. But beware. On the other side of the coin, you're going to have some jackrabbits. People who liked the old you and now they don't. And they're like, I'm tapping out. And they're going to ghost you. I'm gone. I've had a few people like that.
Yeah.
And then you're going to have the saboteurs. They're usually family. Family really can mess you up, can't they? It's usually family members or it's somebody you live with. I liked the old Scott. I don't like this new version. I liked the broken one. So they're going to try and sabotage it. So, there's a very famous quote by Jim Rohn that says you're the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Choose who you spend time with.
I love that. Do you want to share a little bit about yourself and where people can find you and how they can get a session with you and find your books and all of that?
You can go to my website, which is KatherineGiovanni.com. And Katherine is spelled a little odd. It's Katharine Giovanni.com. You could go to Amazon. I have the audiobook, the ebook, and the paperbacks available for at least two of my books. And the audiobook was done by my youngest son, and we're still talking to each other. How about that?
Wow.
I have mad respect for people who do voiceover. It's not as easy as you would think. You don't just sit and talk into a microphone. It's hard. So
is that what he does?
Yeah, it's one of the things he does. But I have such respect for people who do this for a living.
That's great.
Yeah, it's a skill.
Great. Stick around. I want to ask you about that. My book's in the Amazon shop, but I've been thinking, it's not something that I feel equipped to do, but I know there are people that do it. I don't know anything about how to get it done, but I think that's great. So, Katherine, thank you. And thank you all for listening today. Katherine's insights serve as a reminder that true healing isn't just about moving on. It's about learning how to let go in a way that frees us. And so for anyone looking to explore this journey, again, Katherine's website is www.katherinegiovanni.com, and that's KATHARINE. Her website's a great place to start. Her books and resources offer real practical steps towards personal transformation. And if this episode resonated with you, be sure to subscribe to the Enlightened Life podcast so you never miss an episode. And if you know someone who'd benefit from today's discussion, share it with them. These conversations have the power to change lives. To dive deeper into spirituality, mediumship, and if you'd like to check out my live events, visit my website, mediumscottallen.com. You'll find my upcoming events, resources, and ways to connect on your own spiritual journey. Until next time, stay open, stay curious, and keep walking the path of an enlightened life. See you next time.